Alright guys, this is Dorathor with yet another TGT video. This time I'll be talking about Druids, and more specifically how you can build Druid decks with the new TGT cards, and what kind of Druid decks you might expect to see on ladder. So, since Druid is the class that I have spent most time playing, and played the most around the legend ranks, I thought I'd give my shot at how you can build Druid in a few different ways in the new TGT expansion. So with me, I have 5 different deck lists of 5 different Druid decks, and I wanted to show you guys how you can build the decks, what makes them good and what makes them different from each other. So first off, there's the pretty popular token Druid deck that a lot of people have tried to make. This deck has a lot of strengths, but also some weaknesses. The strengths are obviously the Living Root combo with Power of the Wild, where you can buff, with your teacher you can spawn a lot of tokens that you can buff with Power of the Wild, or just push for damage next turn with Savage Roar. It can be a really powerful combo, but also has drawbacks that it's perhaps less consistent, since you're forced to play cards like Power of the Wild and what else you might play. And it's also kind of low curve, so you're pretty reliant on getting a big combo and pushing for damage. But overall, I think it's one of the more consistent decks, since you have such a low curve and you're pretty sure to draw at least some of the good cards that curve. And you're pretty sure to have a pretty consistent win. And even if you don't draw Teacher, you can still draw into Shredders and Keepers to control the board in early game. And you have a good amount of draw power in Astral Communion and Ancient of Lore as well. So overall, this is one of the more consistent decks. It is consistent together with the next version, which is my more standard Druid deck. This is pretty much my old Druid deck from before the expansion, but with a few TGT cards which I feel are really good for it. First off, there is of course, Downless's Aspirant, which I think you'll see in every single one of my decks. It's just an amazing card. It's really broken, and half of the time it will just be like a River Crocolisk, but the other half of the time it's gonna basically win you the game, because you will be able to ramp as well as have pretty good board control, because it's a decent minion as well. So you have the Savage Combatant, which is the outlier here. I think it's a really good card in general, especially if you can get it out early. If you can hero power after it's played, it's like you're using 2 mana for the 3 damage effect of Wrath. So it's like you use your hero power, and it's sort of like a card when you have Savage Combatant out. And 3 damage is usually enough to kill most things anyway. So I feel like Savage Combatant is really good if you can get it out early, and pretty decent later on. It has good stats as well. And the extra utility for hero power is always great. And I feel it replaces Shades pretty well, since most of the time you ramp quicker to 4 mana. So I feel like the Shades can pretty much get removed from the deck, because either you're gonna draw some earlier ramp, or you'd rather play some 4-drops at the time where you could usually play a Shade after ramping. So yeah. Other than that, it's pretty standard. Got pretty standard cards in Lothar, double combo. You got Dorathor, you got the double Ancient of War, which I still feels pretty good. There's some people, especially I think Hoy, who pioneered it on the ladder. And a lot of people have seemed to copy it, and I'm no different, because I feel like Ancient of War is really good in Druid. And usually people do not have easy removals for it. Even if they silence it, it's still a 5/5, and they use a card to silence it. So overall, pretty decent card still. This, as well as the Token Druid deck, I feel are the 2 most consistent lists that are good in pretty much any meta. And you'll basically never go wrong queuing one of these on the ladder. So next up, we got a more fun deck. But also, from my tests, have been showing to be quite good. So it's the Astral Communion deck, and this is actually better than it looks, because it's quite consistent. With so much ramp in the deck, you have Innervate, Wild Growth, Darnassus, Astral, and Nourish. So you have what is it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 cards that actually ramp. So you can get away with playing a lot of late drops. And the way this deck works is most of the time, if you can drop Astral Communion between turn 1 and 4, you will most of the time win the game. Because after you've spent your whole hand discarded for Astral Communion getting the 10 mana, anything you top deck will either be a card that can cycle and draw, or it will be a big drop. And once you just start rolling out, playing a big drop every turn, it's gonna be really amazing. And you will struggle to find a deck that can keep up once you get rolling. And you can also, the deck is built with so much ramp that you can actually also win if you don't draw Astral Communion early. If you just draw Wild Growth or get a Dorathor to live, it's still pretty good. And if you can Nourish on turn 5, gain the extra mana, as soon as you can start dropping your big guys every turn, it's gonna work out most of the time, unless you're against aggro. Against aggro decks, it's really hard to keep up unless you can get the Astral Communion out really fast, like with an Innervate Astral or something like that, into taunts. But against mid-range and late-game decks, it's really good, really consistent to beat those decks, because most of your deck is either big cards or draw, which also is why it's so good with Astral Communion, because you might be surprised by cards like Novice Engineer and Gnomish Inventor, but the thing is that if you top deck them after you've played Astral, you can play it, draw another card, which is most of the time a big drop, so you can play that big drop as well on that turn. So let's say you play Astral, you top deck Novice, play Novice, top deck Ragnaros, play Ragnaros, and there you go. Also, it has some extra synergies with Chromagus and things like that. Overall, I think it's a fun list. I'm not sure how competitive it is. I've tried it a little bit on ladder. I think I've played around 10 games, and it has a positive win rate still. But of course, sometimes I feel like I've just gotten lucky, so it can definitely be improved, but it's a fun deck that I'll keep working on, and I'll keep you guys posted as it goes. So, next up is my Hero Power Druid deck. And this one is also a little bit special. This one is a lot in the development phase still, but basically the point is that you want to buff your hero power as much as possible. You want to use the Justicar True Heart, as well as just the standard things from the standard Druid deck. It's a bit more on the controlish side, but it has a lot of late game together with Malygos and Savagery. And Savagery is also really good once you get the Justicar going, and you can basically do 4 damage with Justicar and Savage Combatant. So you can do 4 damage with your hero, and you can use Savagery to deal 4 damage as well, which is quite good sometimes. Sometimes not so much. It's not that different from the standard Druid deck, but it has a little bit more late game and a little bit more removal. But you trade it for consistency, and you trade it for the double combo burst. So you don't play double combo, so you don't have the finishing burst, but you have Malygos, which you can use to grind out the game, or you can use Justicar's effect to buff your hero power as well, which is okay in Druid. Cool. Well, the last one, my most recent one, is the comeback of Watcher Druid. I feel like this deck has a lot of potential, but I haven't actually tested it that much on ladder. I think this is the deck I've played the least on ladder, but in theory it seems really good. It seems really strong against aggressive metas. The Ancient of Watcher, Dorathors, Deathlords, if you can taunt them up or silence them early, it's gonna be really good. I struggled to find room for the 2 mana Shield Bro, but I think you might be alright without it, but again, I'll have to test a bit more before I know for sure. But right now, the deck is fun to play, and it beats aggro most of the time. It's also pretty good against mid-range, but against late-game decks, it falls short. Simply because the Deathlords get abused, the Ancient Watchers aren't that useful unless you can get them silenced in early game. And yeah. The reason why the deck works is because Wailing Soul is really good with cards like Deathlord after it's taken a bit of the aggro, so you don't get the downside, and it's really good with Ancient Watcher and really good with Dionysus as well, because if you can get it down, you can get it silenced. On turn 2 you can play Dionysus. On turn 3, because you gained another mana, you can play Wailing Soul and you can remove the downside of Dionysus, which is really good. So, of course, it has a lot of synergy, and you can taunt up your guys with the Double Defender, which is also really good against aggressive decks and decks that want to push for damage. Put the Harrison in there, because I was sort of missing a spot. It's sort of meta-dependent, but I feel like I've seen a lot of Hunter and some Warriors on ladder, so I felt like the Harrison was okay. Might try to trade the Harrison for the Shield Bro. But yeah, that's for another time. Cool. Well, overall, I feel like you can give these decks a shot if you want to try some fun Druid decks. I definitely think they are all viable in each their way and for each their meta. But definitely, if you are looking to just try out one Druid deck, pick one of the first two. Both of them are quite tested and should be really good for ladder. Or if you're facing a lot of aggro, you can try out the Watcher Druid. Or if you're feeling lucky and you just want to goof a little bit around and see how it works, you can test out my amazing Astral Communion deck. It's quite fun to play. It's by far the funnest deck of the 5, and I would recommend it to pretty much anyone who has the, I guess, the money and the legendaries to actually play the deck, because it's sort of like pay to win. But yeah, that's it for this time. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, let me know, and I'll keep getting you guys posted with some other classes, deck lists from, made a bit of Shaman and a bit of Mage as well. So I might post those if you guys are interested. Cool. See you guys next time.